นอกจากการประนีประนอมของคู่ขัดแย้งและการมีคนกลางที่ทั้งสองฝ่ายไว้วางใจแล้วการทำให้คนเห็นประโยชน์จากการสงบศึกโดยเฉพาะผลประโยชน์ด้านเศรษฐกิจจะเป็นสิ่งที่ทำให้ผู้คนมองหาทางออกที่สันติ
Selfish interest is one of the best characteristics, I think, in a leader in a peace process. They gain something from it. Not just a nice thing to do or a good thing to do because it stops people suffering, but because my community will benefit. And in the case of Northern Ireland, there were many benefits. Economic development was the major one because unemployment was quite high. Because where you have violent conflict, you have lack of investment usually, and that means that people are living in a low standard of living. And if you can address both the relationships between the groups at the same time as you develop the economy, I think is a very good formula for a sustainable peace. In Ireland, the business community played a huge role. They started to bring together, one thing they did, which was very clear, is that you have businesses which are located in Protestant areas, and you have other businesses that are located in Catholic areas. So they started employing, the Protestant business started to employ Catholics, and the Catholic business started to employ Protestants. That was one thing. We restored the faith of people in the policing service, so people felt much more equal. The Irish identity and British identity existing side by side, part of the achievement of that was by changing the street signs. So it used to be only in English. Now the street sign is in English and Irish. Slowly you bring the people together. We have a few integrated schools right now where Protestant and Catholic young people can go and be educated together. Learning together is wonderful. They learn from each other. It's terrific. So things like that become very important. It's not just the high-level political work that needs to be done.
How do you engage the public in the peace process?
This is very important because there has to be a public swell of public support. There are three levels I believe a peace process must work at. At grassroots level or civil society level, where people that's quite often where the victims come from. It's quite often where the fighters come from as well. So we need to work at this level to build relationships. However, in addition to building relationships at that level and creating change at this level, you have to work at this level, which I call the institutional level. For example, in Northern Ireland, we had a police service. The police service was 94% Protestant. This meant that when they came to a Protestant area, they would say, hello, how are you doing, and everything else. But when they went to the Catholic area, the policing became very firm. So one of the institutions that had to change was the police, because if we didn't change that institution, we couldn't build sustainable relationships at this level, because these people were being policed in a very unfair way. And then, of course, the third level is political and governmental. And in our case, we built a new government. We built a power-sharing government. So that was the change that took place at that level. So it has to happen at all levels. So these people are extremely important.
How inclusive should the peace process be?
As inclusive as you possibly can be. Some people would say, well, that it's very small, so it doesn't really need to be involved in this peace process. Even small groups of dissatisfied people can create a lot of conflict, which could, if not managed properly, result in violence. So it needs to be as inclusive as possible. Now may need to be creative about that, and what I mean by that is if you've got 5 very, very small groups, it may be difficult to give them all representation, and maybe they won't get elected. So you've got to be creative, and in Ireland what we did was to combine some of these groups together and to say, look, will you become one group and we'll give you a special status and participatory role in the process.
การให้ทุกภาคส่วนรวมถึงภาคประชาชนมีส่วนร่วมนับเป็นปัจจัยสำคัญในกระบวนการสร้างสันติภาพในเดือนพฤษภาคมปี 2541 มีการทำประชามติครั้งสำคัญว่าประชาชน ต้องการสนับสนุนข้อตกลง Good Friday หรือไม่ ผลคือมีผู้เห็นด้วยถึง 71% ในไอร์แลนด์เหนือและ 94% ในสาธารณรัฐไอร์แลนด์ผลประชามติครั้งนี้ส่งผลให้กระบวนการสร้างสันติภาพในไอร์แลนด์เหนือสำฤทธิ์ผลในที่สุด
There were referendums held in Northern Ireland as well as in the Republic of Ireland.
Yes.
How crucial are these referendums to the peace process?
I think they were very, very important because it gave the people a say in the peace agreement. Therefore, the peace agreement was not imposed on people, so the general public had a say to agree or not to agree. I think it was important for some parties even more than others because for those parties who were not entirely in agreement with the agreement, they took a view, well, if the people endorse it, well then we will work the agreement.